Hall of Famer and a legendary player. But this is, I mean, they're more likely, well, everything's more likely they go 17-0, but it wouldn't be insane for them to start 1-3. It wouldn't be my pick, but like it wouldn't take a massive upset in any of those games for that to happen.
Look, I do like that he's sending a message to the locker room, and like last year's over. Like we are going for it this year. We're not resting on our laurels. We're not, hey, we got a Super Bowl. We've been to a few in the last few years. We are trying to win it all. So I do like that mentality. I agree with you though. I mean, they're not going 17-0. So what happens? You might lose.
You might
Dallas
lose week
is
one.
possible,
You could lose
but
week
yeah,
one.
Obviously week 2 is very possible against the Chiefs. And what happens when you lose? It's not insurmountable. You'll get over it. But I'm just saying, I think it feels like he just fired off that tweet and didn't really think about.
I think he's just making light of the toughness of the schedule. Like, I don't think he's trying to send a message. Yeah, I don't
So
think
you think he's saying,
no,
this schedule's so tough?
No, you look at the schedule as a player and you're like, yeah, like
they just have no break.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no like back-to-back.
And so
they don't
you
have
look at it
back-to-back
and
games
you're
at
like,
home.
you know what? Don't worry about it. 17-0. It's not even now.
Okay.
It's not going to happen. I don't think no one's going 17-0. I don't think there will be an undefeated team after week 6.
Wow.
I don't think there will be.
I know you're not a gambler. You know that's the type of bet you can make. Like date of last undefeated team. I think I don't know. I know we're short on time. If I'm an Eagles fan, which I'm not, I hate the end of the schedule more than the beginning. I hate that it just go Washington, Detroit, or Washington, Buffalo, Washington at the end. I don't love that. I don't love that. I think I have 3 consecutive really tough games and super high leverage games against Washington all in a row with no break in it. But we can move on. But that to me is more confounding than the beginning.
Okay, let's talk about this. First off, let's get this out of the way, guys. Lane Johnson's just having fun. The dude's been in the NFL since 1967. Like, what are we doing here? Like, he doesn't actually think they're going 17-0. We don't actually have to have a real conversation about it. He's not trying to send a message to the locker room, to the league. He's just having fun, man. He's literally just having fun, right? Like, he's just like, yeah, baby, schedule release 17-0, let's go. Like, because he knows it's May. And he knows that in August and September, October, November, December, like, it's a grind. It's brutal. It's hard. Your back hurts. Your knee hurts. Your shoulders hurt. Like, everything's all over. You're talking to the media nonstop. Like, it's intense. And so, you know what? In May, the weather's getting pretty nice. The flowers are blooming. The leaves are back on the trees. He's just having fun, and it's okay. You're allowed to have fun in May. So, like, we don't have to take this so seriously. And no one's sending a message, on social media. Like, Lane Johnson's not sending a message on social media. So just, it's, oh gosh. He's a 2-time Super Bowl winner, so he understands. He's been there. He's been there before. He understands. He's been in multiple locker rooms, multiple quarterbacks, multiple coaching staffs. So it's just silly. But to now focus on the schedule at hand, yeah, it's a brutal schedule. There's like no easy. I don't see a single easy win. Now, when I say easy wins, I've talked about this a lot, but I suppose I have to repeat it. You have the easy wins and the hard games, and oftentimes the hard games, I just say, okay, you lose those and you win the easy ones. They're not predictions. It's just like, you're playing the Bills. I'm just going to give you a loss. Not because I don't think you can beat the Bills, but just because it's just like, that should be a hard game. So let's just say they lose that game. The easy game, you should beat the Panthers. So I'm just going to give you the win, right? Like, that's all it means. No predictions whatsoever. And it's kind of like, where are the easy wins? I think the Giants will be better. Again, I don't think the Giants are going to be this amazing team, but like, they're certainly going to be better than what they had going on with them with Daniel Jones and Jimmy Cutlets or Joey Cutlets, Johnny Cutlets, whatever the heck his name is. I don't even remember anymore. Like that's just the reality. The Dallas Cowboys will be harder with Dak Prescott than they are with Cooper Rush. And, say what you will about the Cowboys. Eagles fans know this. Like, those games are always tough. Those games always get weird at times. They often split with one another. So you can't just say, oh, we're going to crush the Cowboys. We're going to go 2-0 easy. Like, like I don't think you have to go that far to the extreme either. The Raiders, I think the Raiders are, again, it's a lot different when you have Geno Smith and Pete Carroll as your duo compared to Aiden O'Connell, right? Or Gardner Minshew. So I just think these games will be different. Honestly, I hate, not even just from a competitive standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint. I think it's so. I hate that it's the Commanders, Bills, Commanders. Like, I hate seeing those two games so close to each other. Like, the Commanders and the Eagles are really setting up to be like a really fun and exciting, revival of the rivalry. And you put at the very end of the season, there's an amazing chance that Week 18 means nothing to either of these teams, and now you have Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels like not even playing, and then week 16 to have that first game, and then you have the Bills sandwiched in between it. Like, like I don't know. Not a super fan of that. Some of the breaks that the Eagles could get, so to speak, is if the Vikings are just really not that good with JJ McCarthy. If the Bears are still kind of struggling to kind of get things together, if Geno Smith and the Raiders are a better team, but they're still obviously not a great team. They're still, they took a step forward, but they're just not there just yet. And the Giants are, they're better with Russell Wilson, but it's still looking like a Russell Wilson led New York Giants team, and Brian Dable looks like he's going to get fired, or et cetera, et cetera. And the Cowboys, again, I think even in their worst years, the Cowboys and the Eagles will still find ways to make those games competitive and interesting. At least one of those games out of the two will be that way. But yeah, if you look at this schedule on just a surface level, again, Cowboys division rivalry game, week 1 standalone game, right? That's like the first game of the entire NFL season. I don't know if that's on a random day. I don't know, like, if you guys know, I'd have to look that up. If it's on like a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, some random day like that, like they did last year. But the Chiefs, obviously, going to be a tough, big game. The Rams, tough, big game. The Bucks, that should be, they should be a pretty darn good team, I believe. The Bucks will be. I think their offense is quite potent. The Broncos, I am a believer in the Broncos. So it's just like, if you just look at those first 5 weeks alone, like, those, that is a tough schedule, just to start it all off. But again, the way how I look at it is, and this is what I just said recently with my Ravens video, it's like, you're either a top team and a special team, or you're not. And that schedule, it's like, well, in those first 5 weeks, like, if you're a great team, you should find a way to win 3 games at a minimum, 2 games if we want to leave the door open for like a little bit of a slower start of some sort. And then you should be able to come back and now then beat the Giants. And, Fangio should be able to overwhelm first-year starter JJ McCarthy. And again, if you're a great team, well, then you should be able to beat the Giants. Then I don't care if Russell Wilson and the Giants are a better team than they were last year. Like, you should still be able to win the game, right? And then you kind of get back in, another tougher 2 games with the Packers and the Lions. But again, right? Like, you're either a great team or you're not. I think this will be one of those seasons where the Eagles, when you come out on the other side, it'll feel very much battle tested. And you're talking about playing a lot of these teams now that you're like, okay, these are all the teams that they're going to potentially, that should, in theory, they should be facing in the playoffs, right? Like the Chiefs or the Bills in the Super Bowl, maybe even the Chargers. I mean, who really knows? But let's just say the Chiefs or the Bills in the Super Bowl. It's like, all right, well, now they played them both. The Rams in the playoffs, obviously, the Packers in the playoffs, obviously, the Commanders in the playoffs, obviously, and then any of these other more dark horse teams like the Bears, the Buccaneers, the Vikings. Like, these are all teams that you're gonna be there, and now we're gonna see them play all of them and really deeply know what the story is, and it's going to be late enough in the season that gives you a little bit stronger feeling of what you're facing here. When the Eagles played the Packers in the playoffs, it was like, well, that was week 1. And I was like, I don't really care. I kept saying, I don't care what happened in week 1. It was week 1. That means nothing to me. If they were going to maybe play the Buccaneers in the playoffs, I was like, AJ Brown wasn't there. Devontae wasn't there. It was like 115 degrees out there. I'm like, I don't care. That means nothing to me. Whatever happened in that game means nothing to me. I'm not going to even remotely use that as a reference point if they ended up playing each other in the playoffs. And they didn't play the Lions in the regular season last year. So that would have been like, who knows? So, from my viewpoint, it feels like you're, depending on if you have a bye or whatnot, and obviously if you keep winning, it feels like these are definitely all the teams that you're going to play in the playoffs, potentially even including the Super Bowl, minus maybe the Ravens. And yet, like, you're right there and you're playing them late enough in the season, unless you are dealing with some random injuries, like having people still down. Although that week 4 game still has the potential to be like, 9,000 degrees. So, who knows? I do think that's kind of bootleg. I feel like if you're going to play the Buccaneers again, it should be at home. Because the last 2 games, including the playoffs that they played the Bucs, have been down south, in Tampa. And I just feel like, why would that not be a home game? But they say that they don't have a single back-to-back home game. And I'm quickly looking at this. And yeah, they don't have any back-to-back home games. Yeah. I'm trying to think how much that how much that matters to me. They have a decent bye. They have a good bye right in the middle. But no, I mean, it's no doubt a tough schedule. But I couldn't play. Nick started the conversation. And it was like kind of transitioning into the segment, and I couldn't play it, unfortunately. But he said, "Oh, this is the reason why. Looking at the schedule, this is the reason why only the Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have ever, are the only 2 quarterbacks that have ever repeated. Blah 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 blah." And it's like, it really has actually nothing to do with that. It all has to do with their division. It's the sheer fact that both those teams, both those franchises, for years and years and years, absolutely positively got to just feast. The Chargers for years, trash. Okay, the Broncos for years, trash. The Raiders for years, trash. The Jets for years, trash. The Bills for years, trash. The Dolphins for years, trash. That's how you get there. And now the Eagles don't have that luxury, because say what you will about the Cowboys, they always find a way to be competitive. The Giants had been trash, and the Cardinals and the Commanders had been, but now Jaden Daniels. And again, even if you're an Eagles fan and you don't fully buy into Jaden Daniels, you can't disagree that the Commanders are clearly a better team than, say, the New York Jets were to the Patriots, or the Bills were, obviously pre Josh Allen, or whoever the heck the quarterback was for the Denver Broncos to the Chiefs, right? Like you can't deny that. So it's always going to be harder when your division is tougher. But right now, it seems like we're existing in an NFL where pretty much all the divisions are tough except for the AFC, the AFC South, and I think the NFC South, off the top of my head, are probably the 2 weakest divisions. I'd have to think about it slightly longer, but it just seems like everywhere else now is pretty darn tough. Like there's kind of lots of drama to go around, and that's just the way the NFL is right now. Where it just feels like the floor of the bad teams has been elevated, and the special teams, the top teams, their ceiling hasn't necessarily gotten higher, right? It hasn't really expanded much more. So that's why I never go into any season thinking about repeat or back-to-back or three-peating, and I rip Kansas City Chiefs fans for automatically thinking like that, and I'll do the same thing to Eagles fans, right? Like you just got to play, and this is what I said when we were talking about the Eagles draft going into it. I was just saying, that the Eagles are preparing. They're not trying to repeat necessarily. Like they're trying to build a team that will win from this point forward, that will win another Super Bowl within the next 3 years or so, right? Like that is more the goal. The goal is not to be like, we're going to go back to back. Like, no, the goal is to be able to be like, we won that Super Bowl. We went to 2 out of 3. Our job now moving forward is to try to figure out, so technically we won 1 Super Bowl in the last 3 years, or 1 Super Bowl in the last 4 or 5 years, however you exactly want to chop up the timeline. It's just like, that's our goal again now. If you're an Eagles fan, if you're Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, your goal is like, okay, we want to try, how do we win another Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years? It's not about trying to repeat and then 3-peat and then 4-peat. that's just not the way it works, and that's not the way how I view it, and it's not the way how I think Howie Roseman is dealing with it either. It's you're constantly just trying to, it's very much like kind of that visual when like you have like a bunch of like, I don't know, like little panels behind you, and you take one from behind you and you put it in front of you, and then you climb over that one, and then you take the last one and you put it in, from behind you, put it in front of you, then you take another step forward. Like it's very much like moving part of the bridge behind you, putting it in front, taking a step forward, taking the piece that you just walked over behind, and that's very much what it is. And I think that's what the Eagles have done for years, which is why they've been consistently a top team in the NFL, and why they do find themselves in a Super Bowl, for the last 10 years, last 8 years, like once every few years, right? Like they find themselves being true, legitimate contenders. They don't necessarily go all in and say, this is our Super Bowl window. We got 2 years. Let's go all in. Let's do everything we can. Because if they did, then I think they would have made different decisions going into this draft and just this offseason in general. So, yeah. So that's why the whole idea of them going undefeated, or will they repeat, like, that conversation just doesn't really interest me as much. But especially the 17-0, it's okay to have someone make a joke, be a little bit lighthearted, have a little bit of fun. It's May, okay? It's May. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles schedule? How brutal do you think it is? What do you make of Lane Johnson's tweet? Do you think they can really go 17-0? Let me know in the comments below. I mean, look, they even have the odds here. Odds to go undefeated. The Eagles have the best odds with plus 5,000. Like, it's like, come on, man. What are we doing here? But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.